Hi, welcome to Mr. Hansen Math. I'm Mr. Hansen. Let me help you with the math. Today we're going to learn about the distributive property of multiplication. Most of your teachers will just call it the distributive property. It's mostly because they don't know any better. There's also the distributive property of division, which I use much less frequently. But the distributive property of multiplication is what they're meaning to say. So what you're going to do is take the number touching the grouping symbol and multiply times every term on the inside. Let me write that down. We're going to take the number touching the grouping symbol and multiply it times every term on the inside. A term is everything in between a plus, minus, and equal sign. I explain a lot more in my combining like terms video. If you want to watch the combining like terms video or just part of it, I explain it in the beginning part of that video. But you'll understand as we go through here. I don't require it. I would just recommend you watch that. But I think you'll get by with just this. So first of all, what does that mean? All these grouping symbols. Oh, what am I talking about? Let's just distribute. Okay, the bottom line is, if you take this thing right here, when you have a number that touches a grouping symbol, whether it be a parenthesis, open bracket, a brace or whatever, an open brace, when you have a number touching a grouping symbol, it means multiply. It means take the number on the outside and multiply times the number on the inside. This means 3 times 8. The answer would be 24. What if it was negative? I don't care. When you have a number touching a grouping symbol, it means take the number on the outside and multiply times the number on the inside. Negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. Which reminds me, I would definitely recommend you watch the multiply integers video. I'll put a multiply integers video right here because you got to know how to multiply negatives times positives in this video. I'm not going to explain it. I'm going to assume you already know how to do it. And if you don't, watch that video. If you're confused, don't give up. Watch the darn video and then come back and don't be confused no more. The other thing is I recommend you watching the subtract integers video. The reason is because we're going to be doing 2 pen strokes a lot in this video. I don't want to confuse you. I don't want to make you frustrated. So just go learn how to do 2 pen strokes when you're doing subtracting integers. Watch that video and then come back and watch this one. Don't be confused. Okay, so let's keep going. It works with fractions. 1/2 times negative 2/3. 1/2 times negative 2/3. If you have a number touching a grouping symbol, it means multiply the number on the outside times the number on the inside. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to multiply this. I'm not going to explain it. I'm just going to do it because I told you got to watch the multiply integers video. Anyway, the bottom line is this is negative 1/3, and then you can move on. So the bottom line, what I'm trying to say, take the number on the outside times by the number on the inside. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put a plus sign in there somewhere. So what if you had something like this? 4 times the quantity 3 plus 2. And I throw a word in there, I'm going to say it again. 4 times the quantity 3 plus 2. 4 times the quantity 3 plus 2. Your teacher will probably just say 4 times 3 plus 2. That's incorrect. 4 times 3 plus 2. That's 4 times 3 plus 2. Order of operations says multiply before add. This is 12. Bring down a plus, always bring down a plus. This is 14. 4 times 3 plus 2 equals 14. But 4 times the quantity 3 plus 2. 4 times the quantity 3 plus 2. And that means the order of operations, I got to solve the inside of the grouping symbols first. 3 plus 2 is 5. Now I take the number on the outside times the number on the inside. That's 20. 4 times 5 is 20. These are different problems. 4 times 3 plus 2 and 4 times the quantity 3 plus 2. So the quantity means the numbers inside the grouping symbols. It means what I'm about to say, put it inside grouping symbols. Okay, so that's what I'm going to say, and that's what it means. Okay, so 4 times the quantity, 3 plus 2. So speaking of the order of operations, let's just write this down. It says do the inside of the grouping symbols. 3 plus 2 is 5. So 4 times 5, number touching grouping symbols means multiply. 4 times 5 is 20. That is the correct answer. Okay, let me show you a new way using the distributive property of multiplication. I'm going to take that same problem, 4 times the quantity, 3 plus 2. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute multiplication. I'm going to distribute a multiply by 4 to that term and a multiply by 4 to that term. To every term on the inside. This is a term and this is a term. It's everything in between a plus sign is what it is. So, or minus or equals, whatever. Okay, so take that number, times it by that, and that number times that. 4 times 3 is 12. Bring down a plus. 4 times 2 is 8. Now I can add. 12 plus 8 is 20, which was the same value we found before. So that's 2 different ways to solve the same problem. There will be a reason for it here in just a bit. I'll show you why we have to do it this way sometimes. But in the meantime, let's keep practicing. I want to show you that this is true, this works. 3 times the quantity 4 plus cn. I'm going to solve it twice. 2 different ways. I'm going to solve it 2 different ways. Same problem, I'm going to solve it 2 different ways. This is why I'm going to do the order of operations. Do the grouping symbols first. Solve the inside of the grouping symbols. 4 plus cn is a ln. 3 times a ln, that's 33. All right, that's the order of operations. Now I'm going to do the distributive property multiplication. I'm going to distribute a times 3 to this term and a times 3 to this term. 3 times 4 is 12. Bring down a plus, always bring down a plus. 3 times 10 is 21. Now just add. 12 plus 21 is 33, which is the same value we got before. It still works with negatives. Let me show you a negative. Before I get into the explanations, let me show you with a negative. It still works. Negative 2 times the quantity, 5 plus 3. Negative 2 times the quantity, 5 plus 3. Same problem, I'm going to solve two different ways. Order of operations says solve the inside of the grouping symbols first. Evaluate that. So 5 plus 3 is 8. This is negative 2 times 8. And negative, if you watch my multiplied integers videos, negative times positive is negative, and 2 times 8 is 16. This is negative 16. Now I'm going to solve it with the distributive property multiplication. I'm going to distribute a multiply here and a multiply here. So negative 2 times this term, 5. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. Bring down a plus, always bring down a plus. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Okay, going to war, add an integers video, going to war. When you're going to war, they're on the same team, you add them up. 10 bad guys plus 6 bad guys, they team up. 16 bad guys, that's negative 16. Okay, so now I hope you at least believe me that it works. The reason we got to do this sometimes, though, is you'll get problems that look like this. 4 times the quantity x plus 3. Now what we did on the first way every time is we solved the inside of the grouping symbols. We simplified that. We evaluated the inside of the grouping symbols. Okay, go. X plus 3. Still waiting. What's x plus 3? Yeah, we don't know. They're unlike terms. If you watch my combined like terms, you'd know that these terms are not like each other and you cannot combine them. So we're stuck. We could not simplify this anymore using the order of operations. So what we're going to come up with is distributive property multiplication. Now what I do in my class is I'll ask the students, hey, who's wearing blue shoes? Anybody wearing blue shoes? Put their hand in the air and I'll throw them a Tootsie Roll. And I'll say, okay, who's not wearing braces? Everybody's not wearing braces, I'll throw them a Tootsie Roll. And it's like 2 kids, like everybody's got braces. And then I'll ask them, who's got at least 5 siblings? Step, half, full blood, I don't care. If you got at least 5 siblings, put your hand in the air. You got a rough life, here's a Tootsie Roll. And then I ask the kids, you know, because at first all they start complaining, actually. I don't have to ask them nothing. They start complaining, well, what's up with all this, Mr. Hanson? I'm not wearing blue shoes, I got braces, and I don't have that many people in my family, so I'm not getting no Tootsie Rolls. This ain't fair. And the truth is they're right. I'm not properly distributing. Distributing means give one to everybody. If I distribute a quiz, I give a quiz to every kid. So what I do is I distribute a Tootsie Roll to everybody. I just give one to everybody. Because I don't want to be a Tootsie Scrooge. Tootsie Scrooge, that's the kind of guy that only gives it to some people and not to some people. I'm not a Tootsie Scrooge. I'll give a Tootsie Roll to every kid. So that's a proper distribution. Give one to everybody. And that's what we're doing is you need to take this term and you need to distribute it to this kid in the class. The grouping symbol is kind of like a classroom. You give it to every kid in the class. I need to multiply times this kid in the class, and I need to multiply that kid in the class. Multiply every kid in the class. Everybody's got to get one. So that's what I'm saying. Take the number touching the grouping symbol. I don't care if it's parentheses, brackets, braces, whatever. And we'll practice some of those. And then multiply by every term on the inside. This would be a term, x, and then 3 would be the terms. Everything in between a plus and a minus and an equal sign. So that's a term and that's a term. Okay, so let's get started. Let's take the number touching and multiply. What's 4 times x? 4x. Bring down a plus, always bring down a plus. And then what's 4 times 3? 12. That's the answer. Again, you'll know from the combined like terms video that you cannot combine these two terms. I'm going to put the term that has the letter of the alphabet in it, the variable or the unknown quantity. I'm going to put that term first. I'm going to put the constant last. That's the convention in math. That's a proper way to put it. I could put 12 plus 4x, but it looks funny to my eyes. 4x plus 12 is the way to put it. Well, let's keep cruising. I'm going to speed up the pace. Let's do a bunch more of these. How about 2, let's put open bracket, the quantity b plus 10, and then close bracket. And guess what? I don't care. Parentheses and brackets, they're the same thing. They mean the same thing. They treat them the same. If there's a number touching a grouping symbol, be it parentheses, brackets, braces, whatever, if there's a number touching, that means multiply. But if we're going to distribute, you have to take the number touching a grouping symbol and multiply times every term on the inside. Not just that number times that number, but we got to go that number times that number, and that number times that number. Okay, so what's 2 times b? Is that 2b or not 2b? Yeah, that's the question. Ooh, is that 2b or not 2b? That's 2b. Okay, so 2 times b is 2b. Bring down a plus, always bring down a plus. And then 2 times 10 is 20, and that's the answer. This is actually not that bad, distributive property multiplication. I'm going to get in some negatives, fractions. I'll get there. Don't worry about it. But the process, you just take the number on the outside, times it by every term on the inside. That's the thing, though. Every term. I get some Tootsie Scrooges. What they'll do is they'll go 2 times b is 2b plus 10. And they'll say that's the answer. Oh, doggone kid. Doggone kid, that hurts my eyes. Don't be a Tootsie Scrooge. Don't just take that number and times that one and then just bring this one down. That's not how you do it. Every term on the inside. That means this one and this one. And that's like me. This is me, and I'm throwing a Tootsie Roll. Hey, kid, there you go. I'm throwing a Tootsie Roll. Hey, kid, there you go. Make sure you give it to every kid on the inside. All right, what if it looks like, what about negatives? Okay, -5 times the quantity A plus CN. -5 times the quantity A plus CN. Take the number on the outside and multiply times every term on the inside. What's -5 times A? That's -5A. Bring that plus, always bring that plus. -5 times CN, that's -35. That's the answer. -5A plus -35. Now, you guys, a lot of you guys know, you've been seeing some of my videos, you know I always, I like plus and negative. The one time I don't do it is when I'm presenting my answer. When you present your answer, if I can do 2 pen strokes and turn subtraction into plus and negative, I can also turn plus and negative back into subtraction. This would be the time when you present your answer, no answer key is going to put plus and negative in their answer. They're not going to do it. I just do it while I'm showing my work, but when I present my answer, I'm going to change this back to a subtraction sign. -5A minus 35. That's what you'll see in an answer key in the back of a book. That's what you see in an answer key on your teacher's little answer key binder or whatever. Everybody always changes it back to subtraction for the answer. But the bottom line is you already know how to do it, and that's the important thing. So let's keep going. How about tree times the quantity 2x plus CN? Believe me, I'm going to get into more complicated ones than this, but I wanted to present another one like this to show you that I'm pretty sure you already know how to do it. I think you could do this in your head right now just by looking at it. I think you already know how to do this. Take the number touching the grouping symbol, tree, and multiply times every term on the inside. What's tree times 2x? That's 6x. Bring down a plus, always bring down a plus. What's tree times CN? 21. There's my answer, 6x plus 21. That's it. Okay, let's keep cruising. -10 times the quantity 2z minus 9. -10 times the quantity 2z minus 9. This subtraction, this is where I stop. Hold your horses. I don't deal with subtractions, I do 2 pen strokes. If you're not familiar with it, I told you to watch my Subtracting Ninjas video. My Subtracting Ninjas video will explain this if you don't know what I'm talking about. But if you do, thank you for understanding and watching already, not wasting everybody's time making me say it again. The bottom line is 2 pen strokes. 1, 2. Always. I always do that. Okay, take number on the outside times it by every term on the inside. -10 times 2z. -10 times 2z. I multiply the numbers and bring the z down. So -10 times 2, that's -20z. That's what I'm trying to say. -20z. Now you notice zebras have stripes. 2s don't have stripes. You ever seen a 2 with a stripe? Yeah, me neither. But zebras do have stripes. That's why I put a little stripe right here. That's my z. My zebras have stripes, my 2s don't. Okay, so that's -20z. Bring down a plus. I always bring down a plus. And then don't forget these negatives. That's why I like this negative up here at the top, because I see it when I go bonk. It helps me see it and not miss it, forget it, overlook it, whatever you call it, excuse you call it. I don't have excuses. I have right answers. That's what I have. Okay, so -10 times -9, that's a positive 90. If you watch multiplying integers, you know negative times a negative is a positive. There's my answer, -20z plus 90. Who cares? Let's keep going. 10 times, I'm going to put like an open brace here or something. Let's say phi m minus tree and then a closed brace. Yeah, I don't care if they're parentheses, brackets, braces, nobody cares. They're all the same. If you have a number touching group of symbols, it means multiply. It means multiply times the inside. And if you have more than one term, you got to do every term on the inside. I got a subtraction. Stop. I'm not going to deal with it. I'm going to mess up probably somehow. I'm going to increase my chances of making an error. I eliminate that chances of error by putting 2 pen strokes. 1, 2. That's plus -3. So take the number on the outside. 10 times phi m is 50m. That's 50m. Bring down a plus. Always bring down a plus. And then 10 times negative tree. I bonk into that negative so I don't miss it. 10 times negative tree is -30. And there's my answer. 50m plus -30. Now you remember whatever I said up here somewhere. I said don't put your answer with plus and negatives. Don't put your answer with plus and negative. I do that work while I'm showing my work and all my steps, so don't make errors. But then when I present my answer, I change that plus and negative back to subtraction. This is going to be 50m minus 30. 50m minus 30. What if I got a bunch of negatives times some negatives and some subtractions, all kinds of... Hey, guess what? I don't care. I don't care. Let's deal with it. I'll deal with it. -8 times -phi Charlie minus the 6. -8 times the quantity, -phi Charlie minus 6. -8 times the quantity, -phi Charlie minus 6. I'm going to put 2 pen strokes on here. I'm not going to mess up that. I got negative, subtraction. Yeah. Get rid of them. Get them plus sign. Get a plus sign. I can deal with negatives. I don't deal with subtractions. So 2 pen strokes right there. The number on the outside times the number on the inside. Negative 8 times negative phi c is 40c. Positive. Negative times negative is a positive. 8 times phi is 40, and then you got the c. So it's positive 40c. 40 Charlie. Bring down a plus, always bring down a plus. And then take the number in the, oh, should I bring down a plus negative 6 right here? Should I do that? Tootsie Scrooge? You little throw a Tootsie Roll to this kid, but you ain't going to leave that, you leave that kid out in the cold? You just bring down a negative 6? Yeah, no. No, I'm going to throw a Tootsie Roll to that kid also. Negative times a negative is a positive. 8 times 6 is 48. And that's my answer. 40 Charlie plus 48. 40C plus 48. That's it. Braces, brackets, parentheses, positives, negatives. I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to get more complicated. Where do you see this problem? Where do you see this problem? 4 times the quantity, 12a, minus 6, all that, plus 2. 4 times the quantity, 12a minus 6, all that, plus 2. Now you can say all that kind of ends your quantity. That ends your grouping symbol. Okay, first things first, 2 pen strokes. I'm not going to deal with subtraction. 2 pen strokes. I hope you thought of it before I did. All right, then to take the number on the outside, take the number touching the grouping symbol, that's 4, and multiply it by every term on the inside of the classroom, the inside of the group. Stay inside. Don't throw Tootsie Rolls to kids out wandering the hall. They're probably sloughing anyway, on the way to shop or something, or lunch or whatever they're doing. Graffiti in the bathrooms or whatever. Okay, don't throw Tootsie Rolls with that kid. They're not up to no good. Okay, so 4 times 12a. 4 times 12a is 48a. 48a. Bring down a plus. Always bring down a plus. 4 times negative 6. Take the number on the outside times every term on the inside. 4 times negative 6. Positive times negative is a negative. 6 times 4 is 24, so that's negative 24. And then I just bring down this plus 2. Don't throw a Tootsie Roll to that kid. He's sloughing. Just the kids in the classroom. That's what I'm saying. Distribute. Just distribute with everybody on the inside. That's who gets it. You see this grouping symbol right here, this open parenthesis? 4 times everything on inside this group. And when I close parenthesis, when I stop the group, you stop distributing. You stop distributing. Okay, now I need to combine like terms actually. And this is kind of straightforward enough. You could probably do it without watching my video, but I'll put a link to the video anyway for combine like terms if you're frustrated or don't understand or whatever. But the bottom line is 24 bad guys plus 2, that's 22 bad guys. So this is 48A. And then like I was saying before, I never put plus negative on my answer. I will change that back to subtraction for presenting my answer. I would put 48A minus the 22. That would be my answer. 48A minus 22. All right, what if it said negative tree times the quantity negative tree n plus 4, all that minus phi. Negative tree times the quantity negative tree n plus 4, all that minus phi. Guess what? I don't care. Take the number touching the grouping symbol, negative tree, multiply every term on the inside, but stop at the end of the grouping symbol. Stop there. Negative tree times negative tree n is positive 9n. Bring down a plus, always bring down a plus. Negative tree times phi is negative 12, and then bring down this minus 5. When you're done, you got to subtract 5. And this is nice because I've already got the positive plus and negative. I already got it. If I'd have brought down a subtraction, I'd have to do plus and negative anyway. That's what I'm saying. You might botch it with this negative and probably miss it anyway and make an error, but I already got plus negative. I do need to put a plus and negative here, and now it's easy. I can add integers. That's easy. Bad guys plus bad guys. Well, it's easy if you watch my video anyway. If you're confused, go watch my add integers video. Okay, so combine like terms. Here's a term, here's a term, here's a term. Again, if you watch my combine like terms, it's everything in between a plus sign. So I've got 3 terms here. Nothing looks like 9n, so I'm just going to put 9n. Bring down a plus, always bring down a plus. And then now combine these 2 terms. They look like each other. Bad guys plus bad guys team up. That's negative 17. I don't like plus and negative in my answers. For presentation purposes, I'll always change it to a subtraction. I would put 9n minus the 17. That would be my answer right there. 9n minus the 17. What if they put a crazy number in the front? What if they do that? 6 plus 2 times the quantity 40 plus 8, all that plus sin. The heck is going on here? Now this is probably more complicated than your teacher will ever give you. Your teacher's probably going to give you stuff like this. But I'm telling you, if they give you stretch problems, you're going to be the best in the class. You'll be the best one out there. And then when you get to these, it'll be like, you do them in your sleep. Everybody else complaining about these. Oh, I don't know how to do negatives, all this stuff. Yeah, you'd be dominating. You'd be dominating. So let's get started. You got to take the number touching the grouping symbol. This 6 ain't touching nothing. So that's just 6. Bring down a plus, always bring down a plus. Now this 2, that's who needs to be distributed. So 2 times 40, what's 2 times 40? 2 times 40 is 80. 80, right? 80, 80. 2 times 40 equals 80. Bring down a plus, always bring down a plus. Then 2 times 8, that's the 16. What, are you going to throw a Tootsie Roll out to this kid? Yeah, no. Just bring down a plus in. Now again, combine like terms, that'd be the 6, the 16, and the sin. I'm gonna use the commutative property of addition, use the commutative property of addition and switch the orders. If you don't know the commutative property of addition, you can watch that video and you'll understand this, but I put the 80 first, put 80, and then add up 6 plus 16 plus sin. Is that 29? I think it's 29. I'm done with the problem. 80 plus 29. 80 plus 29. That's the answer. Let's do another one that looks like this for just for kicks. Just for kicks. Let's say I got 8 minus 5 times the quantity negative 2p minus 8. All that minus tree. That's a lot of negatives. You guessed it. I don't care. I know how to deal with them. I'll put 2 pen strokes. 2 pen strokes. 2 pen strokes. 2 pen strokes. Now it's addition. It just makes me happier. I just look at the problem. Before I was looking at the problem, ugh. Now I'm looking at the problem, I can do that. I got a good attitude, a positive attitude right now just from looking at it. Okay, nothing touching the 8, so bring it down. Bring down a plus, always bring down a plus. Now this number is touching the grouping symbol. What is this number? It looks like a 5, but it's not a 5. It's not a 5? Yeah, it's not a 5. It's a negative 5. So multiply negative 5 times negative 2p. Negative 5 times negative 2p is positive 10p. Bring down a plus, always bring down a plus. Take the number on the outside, times it by the number on the inside. You need to distribute to everyone inside the class. Negative 5 times negative 8 is positive 4t, and then I bring down a plus and negative tree when I'm done. Now you can see what's nice is I've already got pluses. I don't have to do 2 pen strokes. I don't have to do it because it's already all pluses because I did the work up here. Now I'll combine like terms. Nothing looks like 10p, so I'm just going to use the commutative property of addition, put it in the front. And then now combine like terms. 8 plus 40 is 48, left to right, right? Order of operations left to right. So 8 plus 40 is 48 good guys plus 3 bad guys. I got 48 good guys plus 3 bad guys. These guys are going to eat it. But they take 3 good guys with them. So 48 minus 3, that's 45. So bring down plus 45. Because the good guys win. They got way more people. Way more people. So 10p plus 45. That'd be the answer. So what about fractions? What about fractions? Well, fractions this. 1/2 times the quantity y plus 6. I don't care. I said take the number touching the grouping symbol, 1/2, multiply by every term on the inside. So 1/2 times y, that's 1/2 y. Bring down a plus, always bring down a plus. 1/2 times 6 is tree. You're done. 1/2 times 6, 1/2 of 6 is tree. 1/2 y plus tree, that's the answer. Okay, what if I had decimals? What about decimals? How about 1.2 times the quantity 1.2h minus 0.5? Get decimals. Not even gonna say it. Get decimals. 2 pen strokes. That's the first thing I'm gonna do. 2 pen strokes right here. I don't want to botch this. 1, 2. Okay, 1.2 times 1.2h. Put that in your calculator and you got 1.44h. Bring down a plus, always bring down a plus. 1.2 times negative 0.5, that's negative 0.6. Okay, I can't combine like terms. This is my answer. But it's not presented properly. I got to change. If I'm going to put my answer, I want to change plus and negative back to subtract. So 1.44h minus 0.6. There's my answer. There's my answer. Fractions, I got more. I got bigger fractions. I could put 3/5 times the quantity 4/3 k plus 1/6. 3/5 times the quantity 4/3 k plus 1/6. Take the number touching the grouping symbol. That's right here. Multiply times every term on the inside. 3/5 times 4/3 k. That's 4/5 k. 4/5 k. Bring down a plus, always bring down a plus. Now I'm not taking the time how to multiply this, simplify all that stuff. I told you to watch multiply fractions video. If you can't do this, if you don't follow what I'm doing, watch my multiply fractions video and you'll be okay. If you're confused, that's why you're confused. It's not because of distributive property of multiplication. You're aces at that. What's confusing you is multiplying fractions. If you do the steps, anyway, the bottom line is you get 4/5 k. Bring down a plus. Okay, 3/5 times 1/6. 3/5 times 1/6. I think that's 1/10. And I think that's the answer in the end of the video. I wish you the best. And remember, never stop learning.